So, the crypto space is really heating up.
We are back with the latest on a cryptocurrency surge that's been gripping Wall Street since President-elect Trump won the election last week. Bitcoin hit another record high yesterday, topping $89,000.
Crypto markets mostly in the green this morning. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin climbed nearly 2% to $99,000.
Today, Bitcoin has hit an all-time high once again, and Bitcoin is surging towards $100,000.
Bitcoin's about to cross $100,000, and that is going to change the world.
As the most popular cryptocurrency in the world grazes the $100,000 mark, investors, platforms, and exchanges, no one can keep calm.
See, I check my portfolio 10 times a day to see if it has actually crossed $100,000, like we call it Sachin ka 100 run wala.
That's Sumit Gupta, co-founder and CEO of CoinDcx, one of India's leading crypto exchanges. We will hear more of him in this episode. So, cryptocurrencies are surging, and the biggest reason is this.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done.
Donald Trump's return to the White House has given a new lease of life to the crypto space and its perception, both of which had taken a massive hit after the collapse of FTX in 2022 and the Biden administration's largely anti-crypto stance. But Trump, throughout his campaign, in fact since July, has been making all the right kinds of noises about this space. In fact, he has expressed support for the creation of a US Bitcoin stockpile, suggesting the government could hold substantial reserves of the cryptocurrency. He has proposed replacing the Securities and Exchange Commission chair Gary Gensler with someone more crypto-friendly. He has supported the creation of a crypto advisory council, and he has said he'll ensure that regulations are crafted by individuals that are supportive of this industry. He has also criticized the Federal Reserve's consideration of a central bank digital currency. Earlier a crypto cynic, Trump has now actually highlighted the potential for expanding Bitcoin mining within the US with a focus on keeping Bitcoin production domestic. Most recently, he proposed the creation of a role called Crypto Czar in the White House. This role would focus exclusively on cryptocurrency policy, aiming to streamline coordination between Congress, regulatory agencies, and the White House. Elsewhere in the world, things are progressing as well. In the European Union, for instance, the Markets in Crypto Assets or MiCA regulation, finalized in 2023, will be fully implemented by December 2024. The UK recently introduced the Future Financial Services Regulatory Regime for crypto assets, focusing on integrating crypto activities into existing financial oversight. Australia proposed a regulating digital assets platforms framework in 2023, requiring crypto platforms to obtain licenses and comply with consumer and anti-money laundering protections. In India, media reports have said the country's capital markets regulator SEBI has taken a more progressive approach towards cryptocurrency regulation, contrasting sharply with the Reserve Bank of India's cautious stance. SEBI has in fact proposed a multi-regulator framework for managing the crypto sector. So, will things in India, which has been very skeptical towards this currency, change now? While this space is exploding, one cannot forget scams like the WazirX hack. How can investors ensure safety of their accounts? What should they be aware of before latching on to new popular trends like crypto futures? Forget the West. Are there lessons to be learned from crypto-friendly neighbors like Bhutan? And how hopeful are homegrown exchanges of a more crypto-friendly regime in India in the near future? All of that in today's episode. It's Tuesday, the 26th of November. I'm your host Anirban Chowdhury. This is the Morning Brief. First up, my colleague, ET's Associate Editor, Sugata Ghosh. Hi Sugata, very warm welcome to the Morning Brief.
Hi.
So, basic question that we ask whenever there is a spike in any kind of market, what explains this surge and do you think it's sustainable?
Well, it's different from other markets what the crypto crowd has done, it has connected the Trump's crypto-friendly soundbites and his pro-crypto stance with a bill which was introduced. It's almost a forgotten bill, which was introduced earlier this year by a senator, which said that US Treasury and the US Fed would buy 1 billion bitcoins over the next 5 years and hold it for 20 years. Now, a combination of these two elements is what is whipping up the crypto rally, particularly the Bitcoin rally. Now, here's the interesting thing. The thing is, we don't know whether this bill would become a law or to what extent the elements of those bill would be picked up into a new legislation, if at all it becomes. But Mr. Trump is someone who will not be quiet about it. At his age, he can't change. He is always making statements. So understandably, he will make pro-crypto statements. He can't make a U-turn. To what extent those would be implemented, we still don't know. But that's enough to keep the market cheering about a crypto rally. And that's exactly what's happening. So now you're seeing top-rung cryptos like Bitcoin, Ether, they're rallying, as well as the smaller coins, the so-called the penny stocks of cryptos, they're also rallying.
How do you think, the government should react to this? Not just this surge. I mean, we don't know whether this will be sustainable or not. But, the larger geopolitical messages that are coming out, of course, Trump's return, and then the fact that a lot of countries in the world are now really, stepping on the gas in terms of, coming up with comprehensive regulations on crypto. We've had stories which said that the SEBI is signaling a more progressive approach towards cryptocurrency regulation, contrasting sharply with the RBI, and that it has proposed a multi-regulator framework for managing the crypto sector. Do you think that stance should soften, and do you see it softening in the near future?
No, I don't think so. I'd be very surprised if the government, that is the Indian government, changes its stance dramatically on cryptos just because there's a rally happening globally. And I don't think the US will also take up with India on liberalizing or acknowledging crypto as an asset or as a currency. I don't see that happening. That would be the last of the government's priority. For instance, the government was supposed to come up with a white paper on cryptos. That was sometime September end. Now it hasn't happened. So the crypto exchanges, the blockchain companies, they were all waiting for it, and it hasn't happened. So I don't see a dramatic change in the tax regime, where the tax is absolutely punishing. You have to pay a TDS, you have to pay full income tax on the gains you make, not the short-term capital gains tax like equities or bonds. And you can't set off your losses against your profits, which you can do for gambling, but not for... Just take the case of the WazirX, the cybercrime that happened, where almost huge money was lost. This is about 2,500 crore. If you recall the Carvey, the fraud that happened, it's almost equivalent to that money. Now, there is hardly any noise because the government does not acknowledge crypto, number one. And number two, the crypto investors are a tiny minuscule of the general pool of savers and investors. So I don't think it's in the government's radar.
And yet, Sugata, its popularity continues to grow among Indians, right? For example, crypto futures seems to be, the latest trend that has caught the fancy of crypto investors. How do you read this trend, for instance?
Well, this is still a small market compared to the spot crypto market in India. But we are seeing a rise in interest from whatever little, and exchanges don't publish the futures trading data. Unlike the spot data, they don't publish it. So we don't know exactly what is the volume, but we have enough reasons to believe that it is growing. Now, the lure of crypto futures product is that, first of all, you're allowed huge leverage. 1:10, 1:20, or even higher, much higher. So with very little money, you can take outsized bets. But unlike, say, equity futures, here the leverage is far higher. So your bets can be a few multiples of what you see in equities. That is one. And secondly, since you are dealing in futures and you are not actually buying those, not directly buying, say, Bitcoin or Ether or something, and you are only one part of the transactions, there is exchange of crypto, there is some savings in TDS. in crypto futures. So these are the two reasons why crypto futures is gaining some popularity, but still I would say it is confined to the hardcore punters. It is still not spread among the general investors.
Is it as risky as FNO in the equities market?
Well, it is risky. It is risky because it is a leverage bet. That means with 1 rupee, you take a bet of 20 rupees, right? So if the market moves against you, that margin which you have given as 1 rupee is wiped off, unless you are unless you are willing to fork out more money. So that way it is certainly risky. The other thing is that the market is not liquid since the market is small. So if you do a buy futures, the exchange is a platform where it is supposed to connect the buyer with the seller. Now, if there is no ready seller available, which is the case often, what local exchanges are doing is that they are doing a back-to-back deal with an offshore exchange and sourcing the liquidity from abroad. Now, again, here there is a bit of a gray area whether they are kind of trampling on some of the foreign exchange laws. We don't know. But this is an absolutely unregulated industry, and we are somewhere in between. Unlike Bangladesh or China or Saudi Arabia, there is no outright ban on cryptos in India. At the same time, we are not regulating it. So it's somewhere in between, and I don't think that's how an industry should be allowed to grow.
But there are, interesting stories happening in the neighborhood as well. For example, Bhutan has emerged as somewhat of a major player in the cryptocurrency space, right? The country's state-owned investment arc, Druk Holdings, for instance, has built extensive Bitcoin mining operations, and there's been, large-scale investments as well, and they've sold a large part of it during this surge. How do you see this? How do you see a country like Bhutan, which is so bullish on crypto, and is there a lesson to be learned from these small countries in the neighborhood for India?
Well, it's a riveting story that has played out very quietly. I think it all began with the ban on crypto in China. So many of these Chinese miners, they set up base in Bhutan. And why Bhutan? Because Bhutan has very cheap hydropower. Last 2 years, there have been occasions in certain months, Bhutan was importing power during months where it normally exports power. So that is the kind of power demand which has happened in Bhutan. So Druk has taken a very conscious bet, because if you take this Druk's holding of cryptos, it's over $1 billion. And that is a outrageous bet for a country whose GDP is less than 3 billion. It's around 3 billion. So that has happened. Now it has paid off. But what Bhutan can possibly do, I don't think any other country can do. A large country like India can't even dream of doing. First of all, we don't have a sovereign fund. And I can't see RBI investing their forex reserves in cryptos or anything. An institution which has been opposing cryptos tooth and nail. Yes, there have been some crypto newsletters where they have said that $35 million worth crypto has been shifted to Binance. Now we don't know whether they've already sold or they're ready to sell, but it's clear that a slice of their crypto holdings has moved from their private wallet to their wallet in Binance, which means that they're ready to sell or they've already sold. But there is an unstated thing which some of the geopolitical experts and security experts are talking about in very hushed tones. I mean, it's not coming out. The presence of large Chinese player in a small country like Bhutan with absolutely sophisticated and powerful hardware, whether that could mean something else, whether we should be worried about from the security perspective.
Also, finally, Sugata, investors that are, very excited. I mean, again, excited about the crypto space with the surge, etc. Also with news of emerging of, Binance making a re-entry into India, talking to regulators, paying the fine, settling the fine that it had been imposed. Word of caution to the investors from you, what would that be?
All that has happened is that Binance is recognized by FIU, that is the Financial Intelligence Unit, which tries to minimize money laundering transactions. Just because Binance has been recognized by FIU does not necessarily mean that you can open an account sitting in India, with with a Binance platform that is offshore and start trading in cryptos, because you would be unwittingly violating FEMA. Because the only way a person can send money abroad is through the liberalized remittance scheme. And under LRS, you don't have any provision for investing in crypto. You are allowed to invest in equities, listed bonds, and properties, but not cryptos. So if you are doing that, irrespective of whether Binance is recognized by FIU or not, you may be violating foreign exchange regulation. But there is absolutely no problem if Binance sets up a platform here with a server located in India and offers trading platform as some of the other exchanges have done. Absolutely no problem in that. They can do that, but they haven't yet done that.
So then let's talk to a company which has set up a platform here. Here's Sumit of CoinDcx again. I asked him what kind of a surge has his exchange seen recently.
Yeah, sure, Anirban. I think first of all, Bitcoin is about to touch $100,000. We are all waiting to see. I check my portfolio 10 times a day to see if it has actually crossed $100,000. It's hovering around $99,000, which is a pretty different moment, right? I mean, everyone is waiting for it to cross 100K. On CoinDcx, we have seen significant uptick in trading activity on CoinDcx also. Bitcoin, of course, is the king of crypto, right? So most of the activities are largely hinged on how Bitcoin is moving. Bitcoin is like an index, right, for the crypto markets, like how Sensex is or Nifty is. And Bitcoin currently represents roughly 60% of the total market cap of crypto sector overall. Bitcoin has seen a massive surge in terms of market cap as well. It was the 9th or the 10th largest asset in the world. It has now gone to 6th or 7th largest asset. So, of course, we have seen good momentum, roughly 40 to 50% momentum in the last couple of months in Bitcoin prices. Meme coins have done also pretty well. A lot of people have invested in Dogecoin in the last cycle. It has gone from around $0.1 to $0.4 now. So it has grown 4x in value. We have also seen a good rally in few other meme coins. I believe that it is not going to be sustainable for many, many years to come. Right now, a lot of people are investing in it because there's a lot of conversations around memes in general. But yeah, I mean, like some of the blue chip crypto like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, Ripple, all of them have seen significant jump, anywhere between 2x to 4x just in the last couple of months. Of course, we may see some correction, small correction, but I think over the next 6 to 12 months, it's largely looking positive, according to me. I think one interesting thing that I like to highlight for all the listeners out there is that one of the pattern that I've seen being in the industry for almost 8 years now, if Bitcoin goes up, then pretty much all the major crypto assets and a larger crypto market goes up in general. So if Bitcoin is going up by 5%, then all the altcoins, we call them alts, they go up by 10 to 20% up. If Bitcoin falls by 5%, then pretty much all the altcoins fall by like another 10, 20, 25% or so.
How sustainable do you think this run is, the current one?
See, markets are fundamentally volatile, right? And they are cyclical too. And even equity markets, you see, right? I mean, they go through its own phases of bull market, bear market. Coin or crypto industry over the last 3 years have been seeing a kind of a bearish market sentiment. So it will go through its own phase of rally, excitement. And then again, there might be some corrections we see. Bitcoin as an asset, of course, is sustainable, a lot more sustainable than many other assets that are out there. I do believe that the technology, the asset crypto is here to stay. And it will essentially become more and more mainstream in the coming years. Whether the Bitcoin rally will sustain for another 2-3 years, that's difficult for anyone to say or comment on, because this is a function of market and a lot of sentiments, momentum that's there. Right now, what we can say is the market shows momentum. Whether it will continue to be there for another 6 months, 12 months, I think the only time will tell. Bitcoin has shown its resilience over the last 14, 15 years. And whatever I have seen, studied, and my opinion says that it is going to be there. In fact, it is going to become the digital version of the gold in the coming 5 to 10 years.
Sumit, it's not just Trump, right? I mean, there are a lot of global markets which are now taking a serious look, at least regulating crypto, right? Do you think, the larger shifts that are happening will make India, and yeah, we have read stories about SEBI also singing a slightly different tune from RBI in terms of the fact that it's willing to take a fresh look at regulating crypto. Does that give you hope on the regulator's stance changing in India shortly?
So I think a regulatory stance in India will change, should change, and probably that's the direction in which things are going. Of course, India is a lot more conservative than many other developed nations when it comes to crypto regulations, primarily because of the concerns that RBI has highlighted. And if you see the stance of India, India has also called it out very, very clearly that India is going to follow what everyone else is following, like the global regulations. Why? Because it's a global asset class. So not regulating crypto in India is going to be inefficient if India sort of bans it, or if India does not regulate it and pretty much all the other countries are regulating it. India will be left behind. And the kind of conversations or the communications that we have received earlier from different government ministries and departments is that because of the nature of the asset class, because of its global nature, India is also going to follow the directions of other global countries. That has been communicated in G20 forum as well when India had the presidency last year. So yeah, I mean, certainly India is going to regulate crypto eventually. Right now, we still have a lot of ground to cover, but my reading and my sense is that regulations are inevitable. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And I do see that in the next 1 or 2 years, we will definitely see regulatory clarity coming in from the government side as well. We have now taxation, we have now FIU, which is under the Ministry of Finance, which is supervising all the exchanges. CoinDcx is the first FIU registered exchange, which means that we work under the supervision and under the guidelines of FIU so that no wrong activities happens on using crypto. We have a lot of communications coming in from the government side. 3-4 years back, the situation was very different. But if you connect the dots and extrapolate it for another 1 or 2 years, I do see India having a stance where India will sort of open up to crypto and will also think about crypto regulations.
Since you got this to CoinDcx and this measures that it's taking and the bit about FIU, I'd like to draw your attention to WazirX and the huge fiasco that happened with it. After that, has CoinDcx taken initiatives to ensure people or safeguard people's funds a little more, or make sure that they are safeguarded? Some other guardrails that you've put in place, would you like to talk about them?
No, absolutely, Anirban. I think at CoinDcx, security is our top priority. Nothing else comes ahead of that. Right from the start in 2018 of the platform, we have always heavily invested in top-notch security practices. And customer funds, we understand, are very, very important for a business like ours to protect at all times. Because see, one security breach, essentially our entire business is at risk, right? So we can't really afford to have any vulnerabilities when it comes to security. We have implemented so many measures when it comes to securing the platform. I do believe that when we look at CoinDcx security practices, they are at par or even better than many other international exchanges. We have also done so many initiatives like proof of reserves. So every few months, we openly and publicly disclose our holdings, customer holdings, our exchange holdings, our reserves, liabilities, everything audited by third parties, which essentially gives our users the comfort that CoinDcx has the assets of customers. In fact, more than that, that is number one, that we keep doing very, very transparently, openly. We are ISO certified, both 27001 and 27701, which also represents that we have a very strong security posture, not just in terms of fund security, but also in terms of data security of customers. We also have, very interestingly, and the first one in the country to announce an insurance fund. We call it Crypto Investors Protection Fund, CIPF, with an initial allocation of 50 CR. What that means is any security breach that is happening, or if at all it happens on the platform, we have a fund dedicated to compensate our users, because at no point our users should get impacted, our customers should get impacted. We have assets worth over $600 million already with us, and that's an outcome of the security practices that we have taken and the customers believing in the security practices of CoinDcx and the transparent communications that we have had over the last 6 to 7 years. Those are the kind of things that we have done, which is proactive. But the most important principle is that the funds that we have should not be connected to the internet, and that's the practice that we follow, because all this hacking all happens online, all on digital channels. But if the funds are not even connected to the internet, then there's no possibility of a security breach happening from some hacker sitting in any other part of the world.
Finally, because of the regulatory stranglehold that you've seen, or if we can even call it apathy, a lot of Indian crypto trading shifted offshore, right from the initial days. The exchanges here have also done pretty well in expanding overseas, especially in the MENA region. So CoinDcx acquired BitOasis in Dubai. Do you see the expansion happening only overseas, or do you see going forward, some kind of M&A activity consolidation happening in India as well? What is the way of expansion that you see for exchanges such as yourself?
Anirban, I think on M&A, I do see some consolidation happening because exchange as a business has economies of scale. India has more than like 25, 30 exchanges, including the small ones, CoinDcx being the largest one. We have seen that the benefits that you can provide and the economies of scale that are there in our business, we can serve our customers a lot better and a lot more at a much lower cost. So eventually, I do believe that exchange is a play where you don't see 10, 20 players operating in the market. It happens with brokers, but exchanges, because of the network effects on liquidity, essentially you will see only 1 or 2 or 3 maybe top exchanges eventually surviving in the future. So yes, that will lead to increased M&A activity happening in next 6 months to 24 months is what I can expect. Internationally, yes, we have acquired a company called BitOasis, which is licensed by WARA, which is licensed by Central Bank of Bahrain, because these countries have fully laid out guidelines and regulations in place. So yes, we do have intent to expand internationally because we've already built the technology product, and now the objective is how can we make people adopt crypto, not just in India, but beyond. And it would be good to see a company which is coming out of India and is also dominating in many regions outside India when it comes to crypto.
Thank you so much, Sumit, for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Well, whether the regulators like it or not, crypto has made several Indians very, very rich in the last few weeks, and it will continue to do so. So, between Sugata's skepticism about a positive stance from the regulators and Sumit's hopes for it, let's see which way the currency flows. That's it for today. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by Vinay Joshi and sound designed by Amrit Reggie. Do share and subscribe if you liked this episode. The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday on a listening platform of your choice. This is your host Anirban Chowdhury signing off. Have a good week. All clips used in this episode belong to their respective owners. Credits are mentioned in the description.